Judy Moody, Girl Detective, Book 9, by McDonald, illustrated by Peter H. Reynolds. Who's Who? Judy Moody, Agent Liz Inquirer, a.k.a. Judy Drudy, World's Best Mystery Solver, WBMS. Father of WBMS, Dad. Mom, Mother of WBMS, Agent James Madagascar, Stink. Frank, Agent Durs Picker, Rocky, Agent Spuds Houdini, Officer Cop, Crime Prevention Guru, Mr. Cheeps, K-9 Detective in Training. The Case of the Bothersome Brother. It was a dark and stormy night. Rain slashed the window, lightning flashed, and thunder crashed. Spooky shadows, like giant teeth, danced across the walls. Tick-tock, tick-tock went the old clock, thumping like a scary heartbeat. Quiet as a ghost, she climbed the dark stairs in her bare feet. She tiptoed down the dark hallway into the dark door. She tapped 1, 2, 3 times, signaling in Morse code. Just then, the door creaked open. Knock, knock. Ah! Screamed Judy from under the covers of her top bunk bed. She let go of the mood lips paper she'd been writing in. It sailed through the air, bonking Stink on the noggin. Ouch! yelled Stink, rubbing his head. Watch the brains. You're gonna give me an egg on my head. You already are an egghead, Stink, Judy teased. Well, you didn't have to throw the book at me. At least it wasn't an encyclopedia. That's what you get for scaring the pants off me while I'm trying to spooky mood lip story. Why are you under the covers? It's the middle of the day. Nancy Drew says a person should never be afraid of the dark. So I was practicing. Why do you have a flashlight? A good detective always keeps a flashlight under her pillow. Does Nancy Drew do that? Hello? Haven't you read the message in the hollow oak? I'm not a Nancy Drew cuckoo head like some people. Can I help it if I'm trying to read R56 original Nancy Drew classics? Stink waved the Mood Lips book at her. Does Nancy Drew throw stuffs at her brother too? Nancy Drew doesn't have a brother. But if she did, I'm sure she'd throw stuff if he scared the jeepers out of her. Jeepers? That's Nancy Drew's talk, Stink. Get a clue. Do Nancy Drew mysteries have any stuff that blows up? Good mysteries have stuffs that blow up. Like boats or cakes or maybe exploding motorcycles? No, Stink. Nancy Drew's mysteries have old clocks and hidden diaries and squeaky steps and stuff. Oh, said Stink. He did not sound one teeny bit scared. He sounded a teeny bit bored. But Nancy Drew's mysteries do have stuff like exploding oranges and flaming rockets and spooky old mansions. Lots of mansions. And they are haunted. And one time Nancy Drew almost gets crushed when the ceiling falls on her. Another time she's chased by a phantom horse. She even gets strangled by a giant python. No lie. Exploding pythons are not cool, said Stink, getting mixed up. Can I look at one of your Nancy Drews? Over there. Judy pointed to a pile of stuff on her desk under my sock monkey. Stink lifted up the sock monkey. Under your sock monkey is a pillow. Under the pillow, Judy told him. Stink lifted the pillow. Under your pillow is nothing but a big fat dictionary. Under the dictionary, Stink lifted up the dictionary. It's a mystery just trying to find your Nancy Drew book. Under the dictionary was Nancy Drew book 43, The Mystery of 99 Steps. What's under all this stuff? Well, don't laugh, but... Judy is a scaredy, Stink chimed. You hid it under here because it's scary. You're scared of Nancy Drew's nightmare. Can I help it if I have an overachieving imagination? Asked Judy. I double dare you to read it in the dark. Stink shivered. See, Nancy's friend has this weird dream about these creepy 99 steps. So Nancy goes to France to try to find them and solve the mystery of her friend's dream. It's spine-chilling. See, so right onto the back. Books don't lie, Stink. Maybe you'll have a bad dream from reading the book. Then I can go to France to solve the mystery of your bad dream and see the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower is so beside the point, Stink. But you just gave me a genius idea. I'm going to solve a mystery. A real-life Nancy Drew scare your pants off mystery. For sure and absolute positive. What's a mystery? I don't know yet. I have to find one first. Do you have to go to France to find it? Stink, you don't have to leave the country to find a mystery. There could be one right in your own backyard. Stink looked out the window into the yard. All I see out there is your purple jump rope, a pink and white soccer ball, your bike with a flat tire, and a blue tent we use for the Toad Pea Club. The only mystery is why Mom and Dad don't make you pick up your stuff. Ha ha, very funny. A mystery is out there, Stink. Maybe not in the backyard exactly, but it could be right under our noses. All we have to do is to pay attention. Just like that, Judy Moody, went looking for a mystery. The mystery of the missing moose mice. If a person was going to solve a big fat mystery, she had to have a way of Fisher Nancy Drew detective kit. Flashlight, check. Notebook, check. Grouchy pencil, check. Pocket magnifying glass, check. Duct tape, check. Zip-top bag, check. Let's see, Judy said out loud to herself. All I need now is a disguise, some money, and a French dictionary. She went into the upstairs bathroom and came back with Mom's makeup bag. Judy pulled out a tube of red lipstick, a compact, an eyebrow pencil, nail polish, tweezers, and a bobby pin. Oh, cool, said Stink, coming into her room. Is all that stuff for a disguise? Stink, don't you know anything about detective work? Everyone knows lipstick is for writing SOS messages. Oh, I get it. Like if someone exploded and your leg is pinned under a piece of metal and you'll go to your harp in French, but you lost your French dictionary, you write SOS in red lipstick or something? Or something, said Judy. Lipstick is good for fake blood too. Like one time Nancy Drew smeared lipstick and pretended she was bleeding to trick the bad guys so she could escape. There are tons of bad guys like Snorky, Stumpy, Snakes, and Grumper. Stink snorted. They sound like dwarves, not bad guys. And the Phantom of the Pioneers. They're an evil fortune teller named Madame Tarantella. Madame Tarantula. Cool. Can I try writing in lipstick? Stink asked. It's only for emergencies, Stink, said Judy. What about all that other junk? Stink asked. The powder in the compact can be used to dust for fingerprints. And the little mirror is for spying on somebody. The eyebrow pencil is for this. Judy drew a quick mustache on Stink. Hey, said Stink, but instead of whipping his lips, he looked in the mirror. Judy held up the little black metal hair clip. Rule number 1, never leave home without a bobby pin. What's a bobby pin? Stink asked. This baby is for picking locks. Can I try? Knock your stuff out, Judy said, holding him a bobby pin. Judy loaded all the detective stuff on her backpack. Stink picked up Judy's secret diary, stuck the bobby pin in the keyhole, and turned it. The diary popped open. Sweet, said Stink. It really works. Judy looked up. Give it, she said, grabbing the diary back. You sure Nancy Drew doesn't have a little brother? Little brothers make good detectives, too. I'm sure. Just a dad named Mr. Drew, her 2 best chums, Georgia and Bess, her dog, Togo, her cat, Snowball, and a shiny blue Waycore convertible. Nancy Drew is old enough to drive a real car. Tell me about it. Who wouldn't want to ride around in a convertible solving mysteries all day? Judy said, makeup check. There, I'm done. What about the money? Where's the money? You forgot the money. No, I didn't. Stink peeked into Judy's backpack and pulled out a plastic bag full of coins. Not my state quarters and my president dollars. I collected these forever. Come on, Stinker. If I get locked in an attic or a closet or the trunk in a car, I've got to have some money to bribe the bad guys to let me out. Just pick the lock with your bobby pin thingy, said Stink. Judy shot him a sour bar face. Fine. Stink snorted through his coins. Here, you can have my American Samoa quarter because I didn't know where that is. 1 lousy quarter? That's not going to get me unkidnapped. Okay, my Martin Van Buren president dollar. But only because he's not James Madison and because I don't know who he is. Gee, thanks, Stinkerbar. Is it time to go find the mystery now? Asked Stink. Almost, said Judy. I'm hungry. I need a snack. Rule number 1 is being a good detective is never to solve a mystery on an empty stomach. I think rule number 1 was the bobby pin thing. Do you have to listen to everything I say? Stink. Turn around so you can't see where I hid my candy. Stink had found a candy hidden in her sock drawer. Stink had found a candy hidden in her doctor kit. Stink had found a candy hidden in her 500-piece puzzle of the Tower of London. But no way would he find a candy hidden in her double-secret tricky hiding place. Stink turned around. He covered his eyes. Cover your ears, too, said Judy. I only have 2 hands. Try not to listen, then. Judy took out her Berta mousse that she had made in a bar with Grandma Lou last Christmas. Judy filled his tummy with a bag of gummy candy instead of stuffing. She reached inside and pulled out an old stripped socks. Stink, said Judy. You'll never believe what I found. Stink turned back around and looked. A sock? He tried to sound fake surprised. Not just a sock, said Judy. A sock and a mystery. Right here in our own backyard. Stink did not see a word. Stink stared at the floor. A real-life, honest jeepers. Nancy Drew, who doesn't have any brother's mystery. Judy waved the socks in the air. The mystery of the missing socks, Stink asked. More like the case of the stolen candy, said Judy. I had a bag of gummy candy in my moose tummy. But now the candy is not there. Presto changer gonzo. Just like that. Stink scratched his head. He snapped his fingers. I bet mouse got into your moose and ate your mice. Interesting, said Judy. How did you know they were gummy mice, Stink? I said gummy candy. I never said gummy mice. Moose, mouse, mice. My tongue gets twisted. And I don't know how much like those gummy mice. More than gummy scabs or gummy frog legs. Stink, take off your shoes. Huh? Why, but just do it. Stink took off his sneakers. Aha! Just as I thought. You have 2 different socks on, and one of the socks you're wearing matches this socks. She held up the stripped socks. The case of the one stripped sock wearing candy stealer is solved. Stink Moody. What do you have to say for yourself? I sure could use that lipstick now, said Stink. What for? For writing SOS. You said that when a person is in trouble, he can use a lipstick for writing SOS. The secret of the stolen spectacles. The next morning, Judy went to Virginia Dare School, 3rd grade, class 3T, like always. She sat in the 2nd row, like always. Mr. Todd starting to tell class 3T about the day ahead. Like always, except something was different. Mr. Todd held a paper at arm's length and squinted at it. We have a special guest coming to school this afternoon, he told him. Rocky raised his hand. Mr. Todd, he said, something about you is different today. Judy turned to look at Rocky and tapped her head as if to say, ESP, you read my mind. Are you growing a beard? Rocky asked. I'm afraid not, said Mr. Todd, scratching his chin. You got taller? Said Jordan. I don't think so, said Mr. Todd. You're growing gray hair, said Bradley. You kids are giving me a few gray hairs, Mr. Todd teased. Judy looked at Mr. Todd. Something was different, and she would use her best. Nancy Drew's super sleuth, amazing detective powers to figure out the case of the different Mr. Todd. Judy Moody studied him up, down and sideways like he was a shiny wrapped Christmas present. Mr. Todd did not have Christmas present, not have a new tie or new haircut or new shoes. Mr. Todd leaned on his desk and told the class about a special guest, a policeman named Officer So-and-so, named his dog, and his dog So-and-so, who were coming to school and that afternoon to talk about such and such. Mr. Todd squinted at the paper again. That's when it hit her. Judy's super amazing mystery-solving powers figured out that Mr. Todd looked different because he was not wearing his glasses. Mr. Todd got contacts, Judy called out. I did not get contact lenses, said Mr. Todd, squinting at Judy. Crumbs. Judy had thought she'd cracked a case, but I seem to have misplaced my glasses. Misplaced, maybe, lost, hardly. Mr. Todd never took his glasses off. Judy looked around class 3T. Which kid looked like a third grade glasses stealer? Bradley, Jordan, Anya, Owen, Jessica Finch, super smart stellar speller. Was she the super secret glasses stealer? Jessica Finch did not even wear glasses, but maybe, just maybe, she stored them so she could look even smarter. Rare. A mini mystery on a school day right here at class 3T. The mystery of the teacher's missing eyeglasses. She, Judy, was in a case. During morning recess, Judy stayed inside so she could investigate. She took out her flashlight and magnifying glass and searched on desks and under chairs. She researched in cubbies and in plastic tubbies. She searched behind a computer and a fish tank and a class guinea pig cage. Our detective Judy found were a sheet of wizard stickers, Rockies, a glue stick, Franks, and a pink paper clip that could only belong to one person. Jessica Finch, pig lover. Judy put the stickers in Rocky's folder, the glue stick in Frank's desk, and a paper clip on. Wait just a Nancy Drew minute. Eager-eyed Moody spotted a clue on Jessica Finch's desk. Right on top of the spelling homework was Jessica's pink piggy lunch tote. Peeking out from the unzipped corner was what looked like one stolen pair of grown-up teacher glasses. Judy unzipped the lunchbox the rest of the way. She got out her magnifying glass and turned on her flashlight. Well, looky here. Scooby-Doo, Mr. Todd's missing glasses. She, Judy Moody, had solved the crime, just like Nancy Drew. She would save the day and give the gifts of sight back to Mr. Todd. Just then, Jessica Finch came into the classroom. "Hey, what are you doing with my lunchbox?" she asked. "Nothing," said Judy, hiding her glasses behind her back. "Mr. Todd," Jessica tattled, "I think Judy Moody is stealing my lunch. She's trying to take my pink chocolate cupcake." Her eyes were on Judy Moody, lunch stealer, as the other third graders furred back in. "Fudgeroni, I'm not the stealer. You are," said Judy. "Oh, yeah? Then let's see what's behind your back." "Girls, what seemed to be the problem?" Mr. Todd asked. "Judy, do you have something you'd like to show us?" Judy Moody brought her hands out from behind her back. They were not holding pink chocolate cupcakes. They were holding Mr. Todd's glasses. The whole class gasped. "I didn't steal them, honest," said Judy. "I found them in Jessica Finch's lunchbox. She stole them, and I know why. So you wouldn't be able to see that she didn't finish writing her spelling words 5 times. I did too." Jessica flipped her paper over to show the words on the back. "Nobody stole anything," said Mr. Todd. "Jessica was showing me all the clever compartments inside her new lunchbox in the morning. I must have taken off my glasses to get a closer look, and they ended up inside my lunchbox," said Jessica. "Judy, you know better than to get into someone else's personal things." "But I was on a case and I didn't find your glasses." "That's no excuse. You wouldn't like Jessica going through your lunchbox, would you? You need to apologize." "Sorry," Judy mumbled. She, Judy Moody, was in a mood. Why do I always get in trouble mood? "Okay, show's over. Take your seats. Mystery solved." Mr. Todd put his glasses back on. "Except for the mystery of why I can't see through my glasses." Jessica Finch pointed and laughed. "Pink icing for my cupcakes." Mr. Todd swept off the icing and licked his finger. He raised his eyebrows. He rubbed his glasses with a hanky. "Good as new," said Mr. Todd. The search for the buried backpack. Judy Moody, Frank, and Rocky sat in the second to front row, waiting for the R-score assembly to start. "Why did you bring your backpack?" asked Frank. "It's not my backpack. It's my detective kit," Judy told her friends. "You never know when a mystery might pop up, just needing to be solved." "In the multi-purpose room?" asked Rocky. Judy frowned. "I can't wait to meet Officer Mr. Chips," said Frank. "That's a funny name," said Judy. "Not if you're a dog," Frank said, laughing. "A police dog is coming here to score?" Judy asked. Earth to Judy. "Come in, Judy." "Didn't you listen to anything Mr. Todd told us this morning?" Rocky said. "Sorry," said Judy. "I was on a case." Rocky asked. "Sorry," said Judy. "I was on a case." "It's a police puppy," said Frank. "Girls and boys," the principal announced. "As you know, October is Crime Prevention Month. We are very pleased to have with us today 2 crime fighters, a Fisher cop and his partner, Mr. Chips, a policeman in dark blue uniform with patches on his sleeves, came on stage. He was leading a brown puppy on a leash. The puppy had blue eyes, floppy ears, and a shiny, wet nose. He was all legs with huge puppy paws. "Aw, so cute!" Kids from the audience said "R" at once. "I'm Officer Cop, and this is Mr. Chips," said the policeman. Mr. Chips is a chocolate lab. Labs are smart, friendly, dependable, and good-natured. He likes to run, fetch, and play ball, and he really likes kids. Officer Cobb showed the kids how Mr. Chips could chase after a ball and bring it back. Next, Mr. Chips carried an egg in his mouth all the way across the stage without breaking it. The crowd went wild. Mr. Chips is my best friend and my partner, and the newest member of our canine team at the police department. Officer Cobb scratched the dog's head and patted him on the back. This little guy is learning to be a police dog. He's being trained to help us sniff out bad guys, search buildings, and even locate stuff that's been stolen. This guy's sense of smell is so great that one day Mr. Chips might help us catch a bank robber, or he could find a missing child. Mr. Chips lives near my house, just like a Finch bragged. He wore a fancy collar in the 4th of July parade, and I got to feed him dog treats. It didn't take a super sleuth to figure out that Jessica Finch was Miss Know-It-All. The audience clapped like crazy for Mr. Chips. Does he eat bones? A first grader asked. Mr. Chips eat mostly puppy food, and he likes doggy treats. Does he live at the police station? A fourth grader asked. Nope, I'm his handler, so he lives at home with me and my family. On my street, Jessica Finch blurted. Officer Cobb called on instinct. Does he ride in your police car? Mr. Chips like riding in my cars more than anything. Every morning he barks at me, begging to go for a ride. It's like he's saying, car, 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 car. Officer Cobb stroked Mr. Chips' ears. Who is a car dog? You are. Oh, yes, you are. Mr. Chips gave Officer Cobb a giant slurp with his cherry pink tongue. The audience laughed. And now I need some help from my audience, said Officer Cobb. Anybody have an object they can bring on stage? How about you, the young lady with the backpack? Who, me? Judy asked, jumping up with a big smile. Yes, bring your backpack up here, and let's give Mr. Chips a whiff. Since he sat score today, we'll give him a test, a super sniffing IQ test. Judy climbed the steps onto the stage. This is my detective kit, she said to Officer Cobb, for solving mysteries. And like a person who prepared for anything, said Officer Cobb, smiling. Let's see if Mr. Chips can solve a mystery too. Come on over and pet him. Then we'll let him sniff your backpack to pick up the scent. Mr. Chips sniffed Judy from head to toe. Then he licked Judy's face all over with his pink slobbery tongue. Slurp, slurp. I hope you don't mind dog kisses, said Officer Cobb. Nope, said Judy. They tickle. Next, Mr. Chips sniffed Judy's backpack all over. Finally, Officer Cobb held the backpack up for Mr. Chips' nose and gave him a voice command. Find. Okay, I'll take Mr. Chips backstage for now. That will give you a chance to hide your backpack. It's like a game of hide and seek. Ready? Ready, said Judy. Officer Cobb took Mr. Chips behind a thick velvet curtain. No peeking, Mr. Chips, Judy called over her shoulder. Judy walked down the center aisle, snaking through the first graders. She cut through a row in front of the second graders and hopped right over Sink's legs. Then she walked backward all the way to the center aisle, hid it under Mr. Todd's chair. Heard some third graders, but Judy only walked around Mr. Todd's chair, then zigzagged through the fourth and fifth grader. Behind the bleachers, kids yelled. Hide it in the basketball hoop. Trash can, trash can. Finally, she stopped in front of the closet where a gym teacher kept all the gym bars, jump ropes, and orange cones. She checked to make sure Mr. Chips wasn't watching. Quietly, she opened the door. Ooh, the closet was dusty and smelled like feet. Stinks, smelly sneakers. Times 10. Judy pinched her nose. This smells so bad, it's giving me a nose wedgie. The audience laughed like crazy. In the closet sat a big wire basket loaded with soccer bars and basketballs. Volley bars and kick bars. Judy buried her backpack deep down the middle of the pile of dusty, dirty bars. Judy shut the door silently behind her and returned to the stage. Everybody hushed when Mr. Chips came out from behind the curtain. The puppy led Officer Cop down the side steps. Then he padded down the center aisle, following Judy's trail. He sniffed away through the second grade, starting up the Stink. He hopped over Stink's leg and sped up to the center aisle. When he got to Mr. Todd's chair, he ran in circles like crazy. "He's chasing his tail!" yelled Frank. "Give him a chance!" somebody yelled. "Come on, Mr. Chips," Judy coaxed. "You can do it." But Mr. Chips had stopped in his tracks. He looked confused. "Give him a minute," said Officer Cobb. "It's not over yet." Suddenly, Mr. Chips raised his nose in the air. He sniffed left. He sniffed right. Zoom! He shot off again, zigzagging his way through the 4th and 5th graders. At last, he came to the door of the class. "Arf, arf, arf, arf." Mr. Chips barked at the door. Officer Cobb opened the door. Mr. Chips bounded in and knocked over the wire basket full of bars. Boing, boing. Mr. Chips pawed his way through the bouncing bars. In no time, he was trotting up to Mr. Cobb, Judy's backpack hanging from his mouth. The whole audience went cuckoo, clapping and cheering. "Good boy," said Officer Cobb. Mr. Chips wagged his tail like crazy. "Whoa," the crowd buzzed. "How'd he do that? Wow, it's magic." Officer Cobb went back on stage and Mr. Chips and took a bow. "Sergeant Officer Sniffer, the best partner a guy could have." "Thanks, Virginia Dare Score. You've been a great audience." Mr. Chips hung out a tongue and wagged his windshield wiper tail. From where Judy sat, it almost looked like Mr. Chips was smiling. The mystery of the missing Mr. Chips. The next day and the day after that, all everybody could talk about was Virginia Dare Score was Sergeant Super Sniffer, a.k.a. Mr. Chips. Then last Friday afternoon, something happened, something big. Judy was smack dab in the middle of an important case. Nancy drew book 15, that is, the haunted bridge. When the loudspeaker crackled, Judy jumped 5 feet and yelped, "Yerp!" breaking the silence and silence reading. "Teachers and students," said Miss Principal Tuxedo under the intercom, I have an important announcement to make. Officer Hop called to alert us that Mr. Chips has gone missing. This was terrible news, awful news, no good, very bad news. The dog was last seen in the Bird Neck neighborhood on Abigail Lane at 7 in the morning. "That's close to where I live," said Judy. "That's my street," said Jessica Finch, pointing at herself. "Since we met Mr. Chips just a few days ago, now know what he looks like. Officer Cobb is asking us to please be on the lookout. If any of you super sleuths out there to spot Mr. Chips, call 1-800-MR-CHIPS right away. Thank you." Mr. Chips was missing, escaped, lost. This was just about probably the worst announcement in the history of principal announcements at Virginia Dare Score. Wait just a Nancy Drew minute. She, Judy Moody, was smack dab in the middle of a real-life, not book mystery, a missing person case, a missing puppy case. That is, for sure, and absolute positive. In fact, this was almost like time in Nancy Drew, Girl Detective, Graphic Novel 6, when a chimp named Mr. Cheaters, who were wearing a diamond necklace, went missing. Maybe Mr. Chips didn't escape to get lost, or maybe, just maybe, Mr. Chips was stolen, as in kidnapped, as in dog-napped. Maybe, just maybe, Mr. Chips had been wearing a fancy smancy diamond Doggy collar, and some bad guys with an eye patch or a tattoo or snagger tooth wanted it. While Judy hoped nothing bad had happened to Mr. Chips, she couldn't help wishing for a mystery, a real-life Nancy Drew mystery. This was the case for Judy Moody, girl detective, Judy Drudy. WWNDD. What would Nancy Drew do? She would take a deep breath and use her detective thinking. That's what. Judy wrote a note to all 3 members of the Toad Pea Club. Rocky, Frank, and Stink. Who? Toad Pea Club members. What? Emergency meeting. Where? Judy Moody Detective Agency. When? After school. A.K.A. Toad Pea Club tent. Why? Big important mystery to solve. Be there or be a toad. When they got to the Toad Pea Clubhouse after school, it wasn't the Toad Pea Clubhouse anymore. It was the Judy Moody Detective Agency. That's what the crooked sign duct tape on the front tent flap said. Inside were a chair, lamp, and a poster that said Wanted, Stumpy, Snakes, and Snorky. I brought binoculars, said Rocky. I brought snoopware, said Frank. You know, spy stuff, telescope, sunglasses, fake noses, and walkie-talkies. I brought my super sniffer nose for sniffing out clues, said Stink. So what's the big mystery? I think Mr. Chips was stolen, said Judy. Fact, Jessica Finch lives across the street from Mr. Chips, and she told me at lunch that no way would he ever run away from Officer Cop. Fact, Jessica Finch said that Mr. Chips had a fancy collar. He wore it in the 4th of July parade. Fact, bad guy burglars could have taken him to get their hands on his diamond Doggy collar. Jessica Finch doesn't know everything, said Stink. Yeah, Why do you think we call her Miss Know-It-All? Said Frank. We should start at Officer Cop's house. Scene of the crime, said Judy. But wait, first I have to swear you in. I'm not allowed to say swears, said Stink. Stink, in detective land, that means you take super serious oaths to promise to be a good assistant detective and help solve the mystery. Judy handed a name tag sticker to each boy. Here, wear this on your shirts. Agent Stink, Agent Pearl, Agent Rock. I want to be Agent 714, said Stink. And can I be Agent Dragnet? Asked Frank. How come mine says Agent Rock, not Rocky? Said Rocky. It sounds cooler, said Judy. She took out a set of Dino Buggy puck pins. Hey, those are my paleo insect pins, said Stink. Why do we have to wear this? Asked Agent Rock. Quit bugging me, said Judy, passing out the pins. All detectives wear badges. These are your official badges. Can I be Stinkbug? Said Stink. Judy handed Stink a yucky millipede. I said Agent Dragnet, not Agent Dragonfly, said Frank. Rocky, Agent Rock pinned on a Jurassic beetle. Fine, said Judy. I'll be the cockroach. Ah, I know how we can make real badges, said Stink. I saw it on public television. First you take a cardboard and cut it out the shape of a shield. Then you glue silver foil. Stink, this is no time for art and craft class. Fine, said Stink. I'll be the ladybug, but I'm going to pretend it's a prehistoric stink bug. And you can stop me. Raise your right hand and repeat after me, said Judy. I, Agent Stink, Purr, or Rock. I, Agent Stink, Purr, or Rock. Do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear. Even though I'm not allowed to swear, said Stink. That I will obey our detective laws. That I will obey our detective laws. And listen to Judy. And listen to Judy because she is the WBM's world's best mystery solver. Because she is the... You said BM, said Stink. You can't make me say BM. Judy grinned. Never mind. She put her own cockroach badge and pointed down the street. To the crime scene. Before you could say password to the Larkspur Lane, Judy and her 2 assistants plus 1 stinky brother were knocking on Officer Copp's front door. "I'll do the talking," said Judy, elbowing the way to the front. Officer Copp came to the door in his blue jeans and sock feet. He was holding his phone in one hand and a stack of flyers in the other. Judy started her speech. "Hi, we're from Virginia Dare School." "These aren't bug pins," Stink interrupted. "They're badges." Judy turned on Stink and gave him her best Hercules beater stare. "We heard about Mr. Chips and we are detectives and detectives, huh?" said Mr. Cobb. "Where's your uniform?" Frank asked, staring at Officer Cobb's socks. "We rushed right over as soon as we heard of Mr. Chips had been stolen," Rocky added. "We don't know that he's been stolen," said Officer Cobb. "Most likely he just escaped. Though for the life of me, I can't see how. But I'm sure I'm glad to see you guys." Judy stood up straighter. "You are?" "Sure, I was hoping you kids might help me put up flyers around town." He held up flyers that said "Lost" in the big letters and showed a cute picture of Mr. Chips. "We'll put them up in the Fur and Fangs," said Rocky. "And Speedy Market," said Frank. "And all over the whole entire town," said Stink. "Great," said Officer Cobb. Judy took out her notes. "So Mr. Chips was last seen where?" "In the backyard this morning," said Officer Cobb. "Uh-huh," said Judy. "Scribber, scribber. When was it?" "When was this?" "My wife let him out and just at around 6:30, I think. Then I fed his dish and put him in the kennel around at 7. At 7:45, I went out to get him, and he was gone. And the food was still in his dish." Uh-huh, said Judy. "Scrubber." "Poor Mr. Chips," said Frank. "Can we see the kennel?" Judy asked. "A good detective always took a good look at the scene of the crime." "Sure. Come on, around back," said Officer Cobb. In his sock feet, he led them to the back of the tiny fenced-in backyard, along the sides of the kennel, much bigger than the doghouse, made out of chain link fences. Officer Cobb scratched his back of his head. "He's never done anything like this before. The whole yard's fenced, and these kennels is supposed to be escape-proof." The door was latched with the U-shaped hook. "Was the latch open when you come out at 7:45? Judy asked. "That's just it. The latch was still closed, but the door wasn't open." Squibber. "Have you seen any suspicious characters looking around?" "Anybody with a name like Grumpy or Scurvy?" Stink asked. "Not that I know. This is a quiet neighborhood." Just then a phone rang from inside. "They're patching cars, though. The phone's been ringing off the wall. Maybe it's the lead." "Excuse me." Officer Cobb trotted toward the house. Judy tapped her pencil on her pad. "Fact. Door is closed. Latch down. Fact. Dog food still in dish. If you were going to run away, wouldn't you finish your breakfast first?" The boys nodded. "Brilliant idea number 67, said Judy. "Get in the cage, Stink. We'll latch the door and see if you can burst out." "Is this a trick? Are you going to lock me in the kennel and run away?" "This is not a trick. It's a real detective thing and to act stuff out so you can figure out what happened. Come on, Stinker. You took the oath." Stink dragged his feet into the kennel. And Judy flipped the latch down. "Now act like a dog. I'm not going to crawl around on 4s and pretend I'm dog. Dogs can't talk, Stink." "Arf!" Stink got down on all 4s and pawed the air. "Now bump up against the door of the kennel. No fair using your hands." Stink bumped against the chain-linked door. "Ow!" He rubbed his shoulder. "See," said Judy, "he can't open it. And he's way bigger than Mr. Chips." Judy bent to the ground, looking for more clues, and her pocket magnifier. "Aha!" Judy shrieked so loud that all 3 boys jumped. Did you see any bad guy? Did you see a burglar? Did you see a bear? No, but I saw a bad guy, a burglar, boot prints the size of a bear. Look, she pointed to a patch of mud in front of the counter door. They're probably just officer cops' footprints, said Rocky. Or a bad guy like Stumpy or Snorky, said Judy. But they're ginormous, said Stink, as big as 4 footprints put together. Give me your ruler so I can measure them. I don't have a ruler, said Judy. That whole detective kit and no ruler? In the which December Nancy Drew used her skirt as a ruler. Then give me your skirt. Hardy har har, Stink. No way are these footprints human, said Frank. Maybe Mr. Chips got eaten by a bear, said Rocky. Or a yeti, said Stink. The abominable snowman, said Frank. Get here, said Judy. There are more footprints over there, said Stink. These look more like sneakers. Stink, get a clue. Those are your prints, said Judy. Frank pointed to something caught on the fence. Judy, over here. What have we here? Judy asked. A clump of fur. Could be from the dog, said Agent Rock. Or a yeti, said Agent Pearl. Move over. Let the nose take a whiff. Stink stuffed it and turned up his nose. It's dog hair, all right. P.U. Smells worse than a yeti. When's the last time you smelled a yeti? Judy took her tweezers and collected dog hair evidence in the plastic zip-top bag. So do you think Mr. Chips brushed up against the fence when he was being dragged out by bad guys? Frank asked. Dog nappers, Judy whispered. You think somebody stole Mr. Chips for real? Asked Rocky. Hello, read the clues, said Detective G. 1. Mr. Chips didn't even get to finish his breakfast. 2. He can't open the latch on the door himself. And 3. Bad guys, Bigfoot, boot prints were everywhere. Burglars, said Rocky. Thieves, said Frank. Dog stealers, said Stink. She, eager-eyed Moody, had found one clue after another, just like Nancy Drew. She read the evidence. She was on her way to cracking the big case. All she had to do now was track down a couple of downright dirty dog nappers with size 16 stompers. The case of the dog bone bandit. The next morning, Judy was already hard at work on the case by the time Stink woke up. She sprawled on the floor with the rainbow of markers all around her. What are you doing to Officer Copp's flyers? Stink asked. Fixing them, said Judy, coloring its blue eyes in a picture of Mr. Chips. Stink tilted his head, reading upside down. He was trying to figure out the word Judy had just added. Have you seen the goo? Have you seen a dog? Oh, your D looks like an O. Stink, a good detective can read backward and upside down. Judy colored in a black letter R. R. Drawer? Stink asked, squinching up his face. Reword, said Judy. We have an offer big bucks so that anyone who has seen Mr. Chips or has any information on his whereabouts will call the police. Rule number 1 is being a good detective is don't be afraid and ask for help. You mean rule number 1 gazillion, said Stink. So whoever finds Mr. Chips gets a reward, not a drawer? Yep. So if I find him, Stink asked, I get the money? Judy ignored him. She wrote in 23.80. Whoa, said Stink. $23.80? That's a lot of money. How'd you come up with $23.80? That's all you had in your piggy bank, Stink. You broke my bank? Stink ran into his room and grabbed his piggy bank. That's weird. My bank's not broken. And the lock is still on, said Stink. He put the piggy bank up in his ears and shook it. Empty. The mystery of the missing money, said Judy. You picked the lock. with one of those Nancy Drew bobby pin thingies. You can't prove it, Stink. No fair! You can't just keep taking my stuff. First it was my President dollar, then my dino bug pins. Now this. That's card stealing. It makes you just as bad as snarky, snuffy, and stingy. Those Nancy Drew bad guys. For your information, it's Snorky, Snakes, and Stumpy. Whatever, it's still my money. Well, you stole a whole bag of my gummy mice. Just stink. If you find Mr. Chips, you can win back your money. But the money is already mine. I shouldn't have to win it back. It's for good cause, Judy reminded him. If you ask me, that lock was just asking to be picked. Give it, said Stink, holding out his hand. Roar, said Judy, handing over the money. Now she had to think of something else to offer as a reward. Something good, something anybody would want for a whole big bunch. She looked around her room at the collections. At last, she had an idea. Lost. Have you seen this dog? Friendly chocolate lab. Brown and furry. Answers to names. Mr. Chips. Last seen in Bird Neck neighborhood. Reward. 7 pizza tables, 3 gotcha pencils, 17 gummy mice candies, 100 band-aids, 1 mood ring, 1 mood rock, if he lets me. Before you could say sign nor twisted candles, Judy and Stink, with tires full of air, were speeding on their way to Speedy Market to hang up flyers. Judy's turquoise bike wasn't exactly a Nancy Drew blue roadster convertible, but the wind did whip her messy hair around, and the October sun warmed her cheeks. Judy and Stink met Rocky and Frank outside the market. We already had friend for bangs and screaming mimmies, said Frank, and the bakery and bowling alley and the birthday party store, said Rocky. Where? Said Judy. Inside Speedy Market, tons of people and a reporter and lights and cameras were crowded around, and the storeman and manager were talking to some cop. Not just any cop, Officer Cop. I'm not kidding you, said Mr. Keene. The manager told Officer Cop. That little guy headed straight for the pet food aisle like nobody's business. Crazy pup grabbed a bone worth $2.79. I yelled, drop it. Did he drop it? No, sirree. He ran right out of the door before anybody could catch him. Sorry about the bone, Mike, said Officer Cop. I'll pay you back. That's one smart pup. How he knew which aisle had dog treats? Is that all the suspects seem to have taken? Asked the lady reporter. Suspect? He's a dog, for crying out loud, said Mr. Keene. Did you get a look at the shoplifter? Yeah, said Mr. Keene. Brown and hairy. He turned to Officer Cop. I guess you could say instead of taking a bite out of crime, he took a bite into crime. When he laughed, a round belly shook where his shirt has popped a button. The reporter turned the camera and spoke into her puffy microphone. A thief remained at large after the daring heist in the pet food aisle of the local Speedy Market. She said, you might say the four-legged man's best friend was too speedy for his market manager. She fake smiled at the camera. Cut! Judy followed Officer Cop out of his store. Do they think it was Mr. Chips? She asked. All anybody saw was a streak of brown and a tail. It must have been him. Keep looking. Officer Cop called as he hopped into the black and white and headed out of the parking lot, lights flashing. Judy and her best chums, the Nancy Drew Wordsworth friends, searched all over the parking lot of Speedy Market, under cars, behind a tree, in a dumpster. They asked every shopper they saw. Did you happen to see a little brown puppy with big paws? But the answer was always no, until a lady with funny glasses pointed to the back corner of the parking lot. Those guys in the van had a dog. Where? What van? Asked Judy, snapping her head around. Was she brown? Was she cute? Was she Mr. Chips? Just then, a dark green van peered out, tearing through the parking lot, tires squeaking. Judy and her friend jumped out of the way. The van swerved out the parking lot without stopping. "Stop, thief!" Judy yelled, but the van sped off down the street before she could make out the letters on the license plate. "Did you see that? He's gotta be them. The bad guy dog nappers." Judy was breathing fast and pointing down the streets. "This is so just like Nancy Drew's Mystery 1, The Secret of the Old Clock." "How's this like some old clocks?" Rocky said. "Come on, guys, read the book." "No, we didn't," all three boys said at the same time. "First of all, there's a dark van. Second of all, there's this little girl named Judy. She's trying to cross the street, and she almost gets hit by a moving van, and she falls on the bridge, and Nancy Drew has to rescue her, and it turns out the bad guys jewel thieves stole an old clock and stuff." "I thought you said the jewel thieves were in the Mystery of Brass Band Trunk," said Stink, "and the Mystery of Lilac Inn, and the Ghost of Blackwood Hall, and wow, Nancy Drew must have more than jewels than the Queen of England. She doesn't get to keep them, Stink." Judy took out her notebook. "So did anybody see anything like a license plate?" "The first few letters were KGB," said Rocky. "KFC," said Frank. "KLF," said Stink. "Or ELF. "Great," said Judy, putting up her pencil behind her ear. "So we know who took Mr. Chips. Some secret bad guys who eat chicken and look like elves." "I think the one guy did have pointy ears," said Stink. "War," said Judy. "What about the van? Did it say something on it? Flush and flow?" said Stink. "Push and go," said Rocky. "Flash and glow," said Stink. Said Frank. "Toilet emergency," said Stink. Stink. "Not now." "It had the words toilet emergency on the side. I saw for real now lie." "Stink's right," said Frank. Judy chewed on the end of her pencil. "Toilet emergency, flush and flow. So they must be like those guys that fix toilets and stuff. Where?" "The super bad guys are plumbers?" Frank asked. "That's just their cover," Judy explained. "Everybody knows that international jewel thieves can ride around in a van that says jewel thieves." The phone number was like 1-800-UNDOG, said Rocky. "Undog," said Judy. "Are you sure it didn't say unclog?" 100-UNDERDOG, said Stink. "Great," said Judy. "Let's all take an underdog super emergency plan, find a phone booth, or change into superheroes. Then we'll find Mr. Chips. Hip, 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 and away we go," yelled Stink. "I know," said Frank. "Let's stake out the supermarket store till they come back." "Yeah, we know Mr. Chip is hungry, right?" "Yeah, 'cause why us would a cop dog steal a dog bone?" Frank asked. "I can't believe Mr. Chips is a shoplifter," said Rocky. "I don't think Mr. Chips is the thief," said Judy. "I bet these guys are so bad they're not even feeding him. So poor Mr. Chips has to share his own food. He's still gonna have to arrest himself for breaking the law." Frank cracked himself up. Rocky and Stink cracked up too. "This isn't helping us find Mr. Chips," said Judy. "Rule number 1, said Stink. "A good detective always keeps a sense of humor. The case of the troublesome toilet. The rest of Saturday and all day Sunday, Judy and her fellow junior detectives biked all over the neighborhood in search for a dark green van. They saw black vans, blue vans, brown vans, maroon vans, but not one single green van with toilet emergency written on its side and driven by chicken-eating guys with pointed ears. On Monday morning, Judy Moody was in a mood. A "why can't I solve a mystery" mood. Then came a clue. when she least expected it. Gigi was doodling paw prints with her scratch pencil through Mr. Todd's talking about healthy habits. When out of the blue, the principal came to the loudspeaker and said the magic words, "Girls and boys, I'm afraid we have a bit of a toilet problem on the third floor wing. We had an emergency this morning with a pipe burst and flooded the girls' bathroom. The plumbers are here to fix the problem, but we asked that you use the bathrooms by the library until further notice." Toilet, emergency, plumbers. Those 3 words were music to Judy's ears. She craned her neck to look at the parking lot. That's when she saw a dark green van parked right across from the entrance to the school. Judy took out her notebook and wrote SOS in red lipstick. She held it up for Frank and Rocky to see. Her hand shot up. "Mr. Todd, I have to go. Bad." And Rocky and Frank have to go, too. Their class cracked up. Frank turned beet red. "Their bathroom, I mean." Jessica Finch raised her hand. "Mayday, Mayday, I have to go, too." Jessica Finch was just being a big, fat copycat. What a fink face. "Tell you what," said Mr. Todd. "Let's all take a quick bathroom break." Eager-eyed Moody was back on the case. Judy, Rocky, and Frank rushed out of the door and went down the hall. They did not head for the bathroom by the library. They headed straight for the girls' room with a busted toilet on their way. They ran smack dab into Agent Stink. "Stink, the girls' bathroom is broken and the bad guy plumbers are here to fixing." "No lie, Stinker. No lie, Stinker." Judy told him. "Judy saw the van parked outside," said Frank. "It's green, just like the one at Speedy Market. Mr. Chips could be right here right now," said Rocky. "This is big, Stink, and we only have 5 minutes. Be our lookout while we check out the bathroom." "What? You can't go in there. There might be exploding toilets or bad guys. They could tie you up. Or give you a major flusher or something." "A flushy?" asked Judy. "That's when they stick your head in the toilet and flush," Judy whispered. "Rule number 1, Stink. Don't be afraid of flushies." Judy reached in her pocket and pulled out her SOS lipstick. "If anything happens, I will write SOS on the mirror. Besides, I've got backup. Agent Rock and Agent Pearl are going in with me." "I'm not going into the girls' room," Rocky and Frank said at the same time. "We've got to," said Judy, "for Mr. Chips." "Hurry up," said Stink, glancing up and down at the hall. "Just yell toilet paper if you get in trouble." Judy ducked under the yellow "do not cross" tape. Her heart beat in her throat as she tiptoed inside. Rocky and Frank followed close behind. "Hey, it's pink," Rocky whispered. "And the girls have soap," said Frank. "Shh," said Judy. The place was quiet. Too quiet. A door from one of the stars leaned against the sink. "Who's there?" she asked, holding her breath. She held out her grudge pencil for protection. She inched closer to the far end of the bathroom and poked her head through the corner of the last star. Screamed Judy. Rocky and Frank jumped back. "What? Nobody's in there." And Rocky, "I know, but I had to scream in me, all ready to come out." "Toilet paper! Toilet paper!" Stink yelled, rushing into the girls' room. "False alarm, Stink," said Frank. "They're not even here." "No, but they were here," said Judy, pointing to tours left on the floor. "Maybe they flushed themselves down the toilet," said Stink. "Stink, you have flushes on the brain." Frank picked up a piece of old pipe. "The plumber did it with the pipe in the pink room. It's like that game Clue." "Maybe they're the phantom plumbers," said Stink, "like the phantom horses in Nancy Drew 5, The Secret of Shadow Ranch." Judy blinked. "Nice work, Agent Stinkbug. How'd you know that?" You told me." Judy shook her head. I might have seen it on Sophie of the Arab's desk, and I might have just happened to take a peek. Phantom or not, they were here, said Rocky. And where are fake plumbers with a green van? Mr. Chips can't be far behind. For sure and absolute positive, said Judy. Check this out, said Frank. He held up a piece of old rope. One end was tied to a knot, the other was frayed. Evidence. Stink sniffed the rope. It smells doggy, all right. The nose knows. Poor Mr. Chips, said Frank. We were getting warmer. I can feel it, said Judy. I bet my mood ring they keep Mr. Chips tied up with the ropes while they fake like they're fixing toilets. But where are they now? Rocky asked. Judy twisted the SOS lipstick, her detective brain spinning around and round. I've got it, she snapped her fingers. They left in the big fat hurry because they know we know. How do you know they know we know? Asked Frank. I don't know. Called it Nancy Drew hunch. I just know they know we know. I know my head hurts, said Stink. We better hurry up and get out of here, said Frank, before Fink Face tatters on us, said Judy. It's already dismissed today, said Rocky, checking its watch. Only 12 minutes before school's out. Hey, you guys have soap in your bathroom? Pink soap? Stink asked. Since when is everybody I know such a clean freak? Judy asked. Our 4 kids made a beeline for the door. They passed Mrs. Tuxedo in the hall. Did you see which way the plumbers went? Judy and her fellow detectives asked at the same time. Did they have pointy ears? Did you hear a dog barking? You kids better get back to class, said Mr. Tuxedo. The bell is about to ring any minute now. For the last 12 minutes of the school day, Judy Moody had ants in her pants, bees in her knees, bug eggs in her legs. Who could sit still when the green van might be back any minute? Scooby-Doo Nancy Drew, an international ring of thieves, right here at Virginia Dare School, with Judy at her crack detective on the case. Those thieves' dog-napping days were numbered. At last the bell rang. Judy raced out front to the parking lot. Still no green van in sight. All aboard, yelled the bus driver. Judy waited till the last possible second. Still no van. She hopped on the bus. The doors whooshed shut as the bus pulled out of the parking lot. Judy pressed her nose to the window of bus 211. There it was, a green van that said, "We fix toilets and other plumbing emergencies." A green van that car 1555 unclog you on the side. That was it. It was them. Stink and Rocky sighed too. Stop! Cried Judy. Stop the bus! The bus driver could not stop for one kid on with the not toilet emergency. The bus driver would not stop to solve a mystery emergency. The bus driver had a way big important schedule to keep. Judy took out her Nancy Drew lipstick and wrote SOS on the back window of the school bus. The bus driver still would not let Judy off the bus. The bus driver told Judy to sit down. The bus driver did not know that in that van might be Mr. Chips. On the back of the bus, Judy watched the green van disappear until it was no bigger than a bug. The wheels on the bus whirled round and round. Judy's detective heart went pound, pound, pound. What if Mr. Chips was never ever found again? Never ever ever, I mean. I'll find you, Mr. Chips. Don't you worry, she whispered to nobody but herself and the universe. The secret of the suspicious sandwich. After school, Judy was sitting on her bed, chewing a pencil, trying to think of a plan. A green van plan. All of a sudden, She heard strange sounds coming from the bathroom. Splishing sounds, splashing sounds, flushing sounds, gushing sounds. Was Stink giving Astro, his guinea pig, a bubble bath? Taking to Toadie surfing in the tub? She climbed down from her top bunk to investigate. Mouse followed her. Stink was in the bath. But Stink wasn't in the tub. Stink was stuffing stuff down the toilet. The Hulk, Iron Man, and Rubber Ducky, and Mouse's squeak toy. He poked it with his plastic light stave. Weak, 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 weak. Mouse jumped on the toilet to see. Judy peered into the toilet bowl. It was swimming with dead goldfish, the cracker kind, that is. Stink, what are you doing? Playing super weird tsunami in the toilet? Duh, said Stink. What's it look like? I'm overflowing the toilet. Then we'll have a toilet emergency. And we'll have to call a plumber. The bad guys in the green van will come right to our house. We'll flush them out and rescue Mr. Chips. Get it? Genius, said Judy. Just then, Stink flushed the toilet. Spew. Water sprayed up out of the toilet in a geyser and gushed all over the floor. Judy leaped out of the way. Mouse sprang onto the rim of the bathtub. Toilet emergency! Toilet emergency! Stink yelled. Mom and Dad came running up the stairs. Judy, said Mom, if this isn't another one of your Boston tub parties, Stink did it, said Judy, pointing at her brother. Mouse did it, said Stink, pointed at the cat. Out of the way, Stink, so I can turn off the water. Said Dad, reaching behind the toilet. We have to call the plumber, said Stink. Judy tried to help. We should call those guys Flush and Flow, or Push and Go, or Flash and Glow. The guys at the green van. Mom put on rubber gloves. She pulled Darth Vader out of the toilet. We're not calling a plumber. Plumbers are very expensive. That plunged the toilet into the water, went down, down, down. I don't know what you two are up to, said Dad, but you kids are going to clean up this mess. Mom handed her rubber gloves to Judy. Grab a bucket, said Judy. I get the mop. We'll clean up the scene of the crime. So much for the Judy Moody Detective Agency. It was more like the mop and bucket brigade. As soon as the bathroom was sparkling clean, Judy and Stink ran outside to meet Rocky and Frank at the old manhole. Somebody in the neighborhood has got to have a broken toilet for a VR, said Stink. Let's knock on the door and ask, said Judy. But if anybody wants your name, use a fake one. Just in the case, in the 13th per, Nancy Drew uses the alias Nanduri. I'll be James Madison. Judy, you be Elizabeth Blackwell. Duh, everybody knows we're not them, said Judy. Okay, then I'll be James Madagascar, said Stink. I'll be Liz Inqua. Spuds Houdini, said Rocky. There's Picker, said Frank. Liz Inqua rang bells. Their Picker knocked on doors. They asked, is your toilet broken? But not one single house in the world in the entire state of Virginia, it seemed, had a broken toilet. Not even a stopped-up sink or a semi-flooded basement. We'll never find Mr. Chips, said Liz Ingram. Nancy Drew would have found him 3 days ago. First, she would have been kidnapped, bound, and gagged and thrown in the river. But by now, she'd be at the River Heights police station collecting a big fat medal. Boo-hoo, Nancy Drew, said James Madagascar. Rule number 1. A good detective does not get in a bad mood. You're right, Stink. A good detective always keeps her spirits up. Judy shook herself to shake off her bad mood. Eureka! I've got it! If those thieves know we are on them, maybe they're not pretending to be plumbers anymore. A dog napper could pretend to look like anybody, said Rocky. Yeah, an old lady, a dog worker, an elf, a clown, said Judy. How about a mayor man? Asked Frank, pointing across the street. Hey, it's Jack Frost, said Stink as they ran toward the mayor truck. Is your toilet broken by any chance? Have you seen a green van around here? Frank asked. How about any cute brown and hairy dogs? Judy said. Who answered to the name of Mr. Chips, said Stink. Or any sneaky bad guys who look like plumbers? Frank asked. Or any old ladies or clowns who look like sneaky bad guys? Rocky said. One question at a time. Let's see. Jack Frost scratched his beard. I did see Mildred Benson's Chihuahua, but he's not cute. And he's not hairy. I haven't seen a new green van, just 2 white Cooper TV trucks. No suspicious old ladies today, and not one single clown. Roar, said Judy. But there is one thing that's strange. Might be a mystery. What? They all said at once. What is it? Tell us! Jack Frost held up an empty sandwich box. I picked a lunch this morning and put it in the truck. But when I got back, the truck at lunchtime after walking my route, my food was missing. Strange, said Stink. Weird, said Rocky and Frank. Interesting, said Judy. She peered at the plastic baggie up close, held it up to the light. Was it a bologna sandwich? Yes, it was. Did your bologna sandwich have mustard? Yes, it did, said Jack Frost. How did you know that? Asked Rocky. She pointed at her large pencil. There's a mustard fingerprint on here, and I can smell the bologna. So does Kelowna mustard with the bologna sandwich in the mail truck. Or, said Stink, maybe a koala ate the bologna sandwich. Judy shot him a super-side winter stare. A poison dart frog glare. What? Fact, said Stink. Koalas are one of the only animals with fingerprints. And the koala fingerprints look almost exactly like humans. I didn't see a single koala in the kitchen while I was making the sandwich, so I guess the mustard print is mine, said Jack Frost. So the fingerprints is just a red herring, said Judy. What's a red herring? Asked Stink. A P.U. stinky fish, said Rocky. No, a false clue, Judy told him. To throw us off, that means hypers. The missing bologna sandwich is the clue, not the mustard footprint. We are lucky we stumbled on it, not like Nancy Drew in the clue of the crumbling wall. But how is it the bologna sandwich a clue if it's missing? Don't you get it? The bad guys are training Mr. Chips to steal stuff. You saw how smart he was at school that day. First threw my backpack, then it was a dog bone. Now it's people's food. Think what could be next. Diamonds, jewels, or will they train him to rob a bank? Oh, no, said Frank. Mr. Chips is going to turn into a jewel thief, or a bank robber, said Rocky, or a clock stealer, said Stink, like in Judy's book. Sounds like your Mr. Chip has gone over to the dark side, said Jack Frost, opening up the back of his mail truck. It was heaped with bins full of mail. Yeah, we'll have to call him Mr. Darth Vader Chips, said Frank. Suddenly, Judy Moody, could not believe her eager eyes. In the back of the mail truck, she spied a bunch of magazines tied up with rope. Rope exactly like the rope the plumbers had. Rope that could be used to tie up Mr. Chips. Jack Frost, fake mailman, with the rope in the mail truck. Who is this Mr. Chips anyway? Said Jack Frost. Some kind of canine criminal? Like you don't know, Judy muttered. Then louder, where'd you get this rope? Do you like dogs? Did you really lose your bologna sandwich? You say that's your fingerprints? Are those mail bags really for mayor? Pow wow wow. Judy fired detective questions at her new suspect. Stink yanked on her arm and pulled her to the other side of the street. Are you cuckoo? He whispered. Why are you being such a meanie to Jack Frost? Rule number 1, Stink. Everyone's a suspect. Didn't you see that rope he had on the back of his mail truck? It's just like the rope used to tie up Mr. Chips, admitted Stinker. Jack Frost could be working with the dog nappers. He could be part of the ring of international jewel thieves. Hello? Jack Frost is not a thief, said Stink. He's a mailman, and he's my friend. Look at him. He looks like Santa Claus. That's just it, said Judy. Anybody can be a bad guy, even Santa Claus. Think about it, Stink. A mailman always carries dog treats. He could be helping the bad guys train Mr. Chips to sniff out the lead for stealing, too. He knows when people go on vacation, so he could case the neighborhood and tip off the bad guys when people aren't home. And 3, what's the perfect place to hide loot like diamonds? A mail bag. Pretty soon nobody will get any mail, and there won't be any jewels left in the whole state of Virginia. I rest my case. Jack Frost gave you the mittens for Christmas. Jack Frost made it snow. Would a jewel thief give you mittens? Would a dog napper make it snow for Christmas? Stink ripped off his bug pin badge and handed it to Judy. I quit, he huffed. Before you quit, said Judy, go ask Jack Frost where he got the rope. Stink crossed his arm. He uncrossed his arm. He walked over to Jack Frost. Judy came along behind him. He asked about the magazines tied up with rope. Oh, I'm just helping out Mrs. Straight Mayor down the street. She's so old and can't get out, so she bundles up her used magazines and I recycle them for her. Aha, so you did see your old lady today, said Judy. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Sure, said Jack Frost. Well, the mail won't deliver itself. Jack Frost hopped back into the truck and started it up. Let me know if you find that sandwich, he called. See, said Stink. The rope is just one of those stinky red herring, said Rocket Frank at the same time. Herring's dreamering. I rest my case, said Judy. Just then she realized that the mail truck had started off down the street. Wait, what was that old lady's name? How do you spell it? And what street does she live on? But it was too late. Jack Frost's taillights were already turning the corner. The case of the curious cookie crumbs. The next day, Judy Moody, was in a mood, an undetected mood, a bummed out, not Nancy Drew mood. Not one clue so far had led to finding Mr. Chips. Nancy Drew made it all look so easy peasy, even if she was in an avalanche or being strangled by a python. But what if Judy Moody, girl detective, never cracked the case? What if Mr. Chips never made it home? Mystery unsolved. Judy wondered if Nancy Drew ever had an unsolved case. She didn't think so. Rule number 1, never give up. Judy sat at the 3rd grade lunch table. In between bites of peanut butter and banana sandwich, she made a list of suspects in her detective notebook. Plumbers in green van. Jack Frost. Jessica Finch. Crossed out. Ha ha, I wish. Old lady. Begins with an S. The trailer has gone cold. The green van had been at school today again this morning, but it was gone by lunch. The toilet in the girls' bathroom was fixed, and Jack Frost was just delivering mail like he did every day. Even old Mr. S was probably just some nice old lady with Mrs. Abby, Rowan, and Nancy Drew. Book 1. The Secret of the Older Clock. Some nice lady who liked to recycle. Judy was miles away when she heard Jessica Finch bark from across the table. Hey, my lunch. Somebody. Judy Moody stole my lunch for real this time. Me too, said Matthew. Me three, said Jordan. The whole third grade lunch table stared at Judy with googly eyes. Judy popped up out of her chair and peered into Jessica's pink picky lunchbox. Was it a bologna sandwich? She asked. Fair. Guess again, said Jessica. Do you have a bologna sandwich? Judy asked Matthew. Matthew. Nope. Do you have a bologna sandwich? Judy asked Jordan. Jordan shook her head. No. But somebody spread my salad all over. Somebody smashed my hummus sandwich, said Matthew. And somebody spilled all the apples out of my apple curry turkey pita. Jessica Finch squeaked. What are you guys, the Hearth Nut Lunch Club or something? Jessica looked at Matthew or Jordan. We're the tofu triplets. Jessica was so not kidding. Judy laughed, and milk sprayed out of her nose. We bring hearty stuff for our lunches and share. Today I brought an organic chocolate chip cookie for everyone, said Jessica, and now mine is Gone, gone. And that's left a few lousy crumbs. That's the way the cookie crumbles, Judy teased. Mine's gone too, said Matthew. Me three, said Jordan. And we know who stole them. All three of the tofu triplets pointed at Judy Moody. Give us back our cookies, you crummy cookie crock. Crumbs to that! Why would I steal a chocolate chip cookie when I have my own right here? She lifted off her sandwich. She searched under her napkin. Aye, crumb! Somebody stole my cookie too! Something strange was going on at Virginia Dare School, and getting stranger by the minute. Jessica, did you have your lunchbox when you are at our times today? Some detective, said Jessica. Mr. Todd told us to stop our lunches out here before going to the library, remember? Anybody could have gotten into them. I bet it was a fifth grader, said Jordan. Wait just a Nancy Drew minute. What's the green van back at school again? Were the bad guys training Mr. Chips to steal chocolate chip cookies right now? But why? Maybe the cookies were just practice, part of Mr. Chip's training. Today they were teaching him to sniff out chocolate chip cookies. For tomorrow, diamonds and jewels and stuff. Nancy Drew was always vexed by her cases. Judy Moody was vexed and perplexed, which was just a fancy Nancy way for saying stumped. Or was she? Jeepers, I think I got it, Judy cried. All she needed now was one more clue, one more piece, and to solve the puzzle and crack the case wide open. And that clue could only come from one person. Mayorman Jack Frost. The rest of the day, Judy Moody was on double triple pins and needles. And soon as the bus dropped her off, she raced down the street to find Jack Frost. Hi, Jack Frost, Judy called. So, we're friends again, Jack Frost teased. Chums, said Judy, nodding. One question. Shoot, Jack Frost. Okay, think back to yesterday. Was there anything else? Anything in your lunchbox beside bologna sandwiches? Judy had her pad and pencil ready. Jack Frost scratched his head. Jack Frost stroked his beard. Well, let's see. There was a carrot. What else? A box of raisins and... Oh, yes, a super scrumptious, ooey-gooey chocolate chip cookie. I had my heart set on it, but all that was left was crumbs. Holy jeepers! Judy screeched. At last, Judy Moody, had a break in the case. She knew just how Nancy Drew felt when she cracked the secret code. Blueberries were bee-singing horses in the password of Larkspur Lane. The case of the kissing canine. Judy raced home to bake cookies before you could say, I spy with my eagle eye flours were flying and butters were becoming batter. Do I smell chocolate chip cookies, though? Stink asked, peering into the bowl. Sweet! Can I help? Yeah, you can help by not eating all the chocolate chips. These are super important detective cookies. Find Mr. Chip's cookies. Crack the case cookies. When the cookie sheet was full, Mom put the cookies in the oven for them. Stink, we're ready for phase 1. Go get the fan. The fan? What for? We're going to set a trap. Since we can't seem to get to Mr. Chips, we'll get him to come to us with chocolate chip cookies. Chocolate chip cookies are the key to this case. You mean we're below the cookie smell outside? And Mr. Chip's super sniffers will sniff out the cookies and break free and come running? Right into our arms, said Judy. Then the bad guys will come running after Mr. Chips to catch him. Right into Officer Cop's arms, said Judy. Genius, Stink said. Stink turned on the fan. In no time, Judy and Stink heard a noise outside. They went running to the front door. It was Rocky and Frank. We thought you were Mr. Chips, said Judy. She explained her master catch a thief cookie plan. How do you know it will work? Asked Rocky. If it worked on you, didn't it? Judy said with a grin. Time to call 1-800 Mr. Chips and tell Officer Cop to come as quick if he wants to catch some bad guys. And tell him to bring backup, said Agent Burr, just in case. Phase 2. Judy piled a mountain of hot out of the oven cookies on the plate. Rocky and Frank took some and made a trail of cookie crumbs leading down the sidewalk, around the corner, across the driveway, and right up to the tent. If we don't catch Mr. Chips, at least we'll catch a bunch of ants, said Stink. Stink always had ant farms on the brain. Stink, we'll hide in the tent with the rest of the cookies and wait for Mr. Chips. You take Frank's walkie-talkie and hide in the bushes out front. If you see the green van, call us and say, Chips ahoy. That's the secret code. Core beans, said Stink. Wait a sec, no fair. How come you guys get to be in the tent with cookies and I have to be in the bushes all by myself without cookies? Judy held up other walkie-talkie. You can talk it to us anytime you feel lonely. Stink grabbed 2 cookies. Hey, Judy barked, give those back. Rule number 1, never solve a crime on an empty stomach. The master catcher's thief cookie trap was set. Now all they had to do was wait. Breaker, this is Adam 12, said Stink. Do you copy me? We got a possible Peter Bailey. Huh? It's a green VW bug, said Stink. A bug is not a van, Stink. They watched and waited and watched some more. Breaker, said Stink. Come in, Breaker. You read me? Roger that, said Judy. Rocky's mom is taking out the garbage. Over. Oops, I was supposed to do that, said Rocky. We've got an S as in Saturn, Q as in quark, U as in underwear, I as in I don't know, R as in rock, E as in Easter bunny, R as in loser. What? Frank asked Judy. Squirrel. I think he might mean squirrel. Learn to spell, Stink. They waited some more. Peter Bailey still parked. Cat burglar on a fence. Over, said Stink. Repeat, did you say burglar? It was just a cat. No green van. Negatory on the van. Just crow picking and some leftover road pizza. So we just sit here? Asked Frank. My butt is asleep, said Rocky. Stakeouts are boring, Stink said over the walkie-talkie. Not, Judy. This is as exciting as one time of the mystery of the moss-covered mansion where Nancy Drew chased a wild leopard and trapped him in the garbage with a calm down hidden in a piece of meat. Chips ahoy! Chips ahoy! crackled Stink. Movement in bushes across the street. I think I see something furry. Judy sat up. On alert, Frank and Rocky peered at the tent frowned. Negatory, scratch that. Just a cat burglar again. Still more waiting. Chips ahoy! Stink called out again. Got your ears on. I think I see a tear. A doggy tear? False alarm. Just a assassin setter. Q as in Stink. You have the right to remain silent, said Judy. Chips ahoy! Hissed Stink. Chips ahoy! It's like the boy who cried Chips ahoy, said Frank. No way are we falling for that again. Just then, Judy heard a new sound, a snuffling sound, a panting, pawing sound. Was it? Could it be? All three faces peered out from the tent flap. Holy jeepers, Mr. Chips! Judy held out a cookie. Good boy, come here, Mr. Chips. In one leap, Mr. Chips jumped right into the tent and on top of Judy, knocking her over. Cookies went flying. Mr. Chips' tail was wagging 5 miles a minute. Judy hugged that wiggling ball of fur and kissed that puppy on his wet nose. Mr. Chips, said Rocky and Frank. Who's a good boy? You are. Oh, yes, you are. Mr. Chips rolled over, paws in the air. They tickled his tummy. Chips ahoy! Chips ahoy! Stink said, starting yelling. Come in, Breaker. Read, finally. He came rushing into the tent, where the little brown fur ball was licking Judy, Rocky, and Frank from head to toe. Toward you, Stink cried. Where'd you go, boy? Rocky asked in between doggy kisses. I wish you could tell us where you have been. You're safe from the bad guys now, Mr. Chips, said Frank. You didn't see the green van, did you, Stink? Nope, not even a piece of a rope or a bite of a bologna sandwich. How'd you break away from those bad guys? Judy said. Who's a smart doggy? You are. Breaker 19. We got a bear coming with a gumber machine. Stakeout's over, Stink. You can talk normal now, said Judy just then she saw black and white that had pulled into the driveway. Lights flashing. Officer Cop, cried Judy as he crossed the yard. Look who we found. Where did you get off to, boy? Officer Cop asked, snapping a leash on the puppy. Mr. Chips leaped into Officer Cop's arm, wagging his tail and licking him like he hadn't seen him for a year. After all the how did you and where have you been and don't evers, Officer Cop asked. So how'd you find this guy? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, said Judy. We set a chocolate chip cookie trap. Good idea, said Officer Cop. So did you bring backup? Stink asked. Catch the bad guys in the green van? Yeah, we were on to them the day Mr. Chips stole the dog bone from Speedy Market, said Frank. At first, we thought they were dog nappers, said Judy. Yeah, like they took Mr. Chips for reward money, Stink added. Then Nancy drew a light bulb went off in my head, and we followed a ton of clues all over town and figured out that they'd been training Mr. Chips to steal stuff. They were teaching him by making him sniff out a chocolate chip cookies. First cookies, then diamonds, said Stink. Officer Cop chuckled. That's a mighty interesting detective work, and you sure cracked the case. But I'm afraid you haven't been any reporters at the police station about any diamonds gone missing. See, said Judy, turning to her fellow detectives, not only did we rescue Mr. Chips, we also stopped those bad guys in the nick of time. Yeah, looked to me like you caught the thief all right. The chocolate chip cookie thief. Our own Mr. Chips. Judy wasn't so sure. She, eager-eyed Moody, was going to keep one eye peeled, just in case. We'll never know for sure. But I think Mr. Chips is escape artist, a regular Houdini. Best we can figure is that he pushed the bottom of the fencing just enough and squeezed out through a tiny opening. Then he ran all over town looking for food. He got so hungry. So that's why he stole the dog bone from Speedy Market, asked Frank. And Jack Frost's bologna sandwich, said Stink. Then he got into the lunches at school and ate the chocolate chip cookies, said Judy. That's how he got the name Mr. Chips, because he loved chocolate chip cookies. Am I right? Not quite, said Officer Cobb. Mr. Chips doesn't eat chocolate chip cookies. He buries them. Huh? Everybody asked. Most dogs have a sweet tooth, and they have a nose for chocolate. When Mr. Chips first came home with me, my wife was baking chocolate chip cookies. He went right for the chips and ate a handful before we could stop him. Oh no, said Frank. Dogs aren't allowed to eat chocolate. It's like poison. It makes them sick. That's right, said Officer Cobb. Poor guy had to throw up. He took him to the vet. And she told us that chocolate makes dogs sick. So before he even got any police dog training, he was trained not to eat chocolate. Then why would he steal all those cookies? Judy asked. Go ahead and give him a cookie, said Officer Cobb. Watch what his does. Judy held a cookie up to Mr. Chips. He sniffed it, then ran in between his teeth the way he'd carried the egg across the stage at school that day. He started digging under the tree. He's going to bury it, Judy said. They ran after Mr. Chips. Judy peered into the hole he had dug in the soft earth. Hey, there's a bunch more cookies in there, said Stink. Where'd he get those? Judy asked. He has a whole stash, Frank said, pointing and laughing. Thin mints, said Judy. Mom brought Girl Scout cookies from Jessica Finch, and I left some in the tent. What did I tell you? Said Officer Cobb. He scooped up Mr. Chips. Well, now that these super detectives found you, I better get you home, eh? He rubbed noses with Mr. Chips. I was worried I'd never see this guy again. I thank you, and Mr. Chips thank you. There, said Judy. I finally got to solve a mystery. The mystery of the missing Doggy detective. This is just like the time Nancy Drew rescued a police dog puppy in book 1, The Secret of the Old Clock. No lie, she felt as shiny as the penny in the Nancy Drew's penny loafers. Is there a reward? Stink asked. Are you going to arrest Mr. Chips for stealing that dog bone? Frank asked. Will Mr. Chips still get to be a police dog? Clark asked. No, and yes, said Officer Cobb. But it'll be a while. He still has a lot to learn, a lot more training to do. Back to Doggy Detective School for you. Aw, I wish I could keep him, said Stink. Stink, he's not a pet, said Judy. He's a crime buster, aren't you, Mr. Chips? She rubbed noses with the puppy, too. Looks like this mystery is solved, said Officer Cobb. No more cookie stealing for you, little fella. Case closed. Case closed? If Judy Moody had learned one thing from Nancy Drews, besides never leave home without Bob Pin, it was that a detective work was never done. Haunted houses, secret diaries, stolen diamonds. Around every corner was a mystery just waiting to be solved. And where there was mystery, there would be Judy. The kids waved to Officer Cobb and Mr. Chips. If any diamonds go missing, said Judy, you know who to call. Who? Asked Stink. Judy Moody, girl detective, she said, grinning from ear to ear. Case closed. The end of Judy Moody, Book 9, Girl Detective, by Megan McDonald. Illustrated by Peter H. Reynolds.